People don't realize that a big part of their unhappiness comes from their own thoughts. These thoughts keep going all the time, like a voice inside your head. The voice talks to you from the moment you wake up. It tells you how your day will go before you've even brushed your teeth. It reminds you of mistakes from yesterday, makes you worry about tomorrow, and criticizes everything you do right now. It's always there, constant, loud, and honestly exhausting. But here's something important. That voice is not you. Trapped by thoughts. This idea might feel strange at first. We are taught to believe that our thoughts define who we are. Many self-help books and teachers say that if you change your thoughts, you can change your life. But what if the problem isn't your thoughts at all? What if the real issue is that you are constantly talking to yourself? This never-ending inner voice isn't a wise guide or a helpful friend. It's actually a trap. A trap not made of metal but of words. The walls of this trap are built from fear, judgment, complaints, and comparisons. Imagine sitting next to a calm, still lake. The water is so clear that it reflects the sky, showing its beauty. But then you throw a small stone into the water and ripples appear. The reflection is now disturbed. Your thoughts are like that stone, constant, restless, and disrupting your inner peace. Your mind is like a cup filled to the top. It's so full of thoughts, labels, and worries that there is no room left for anything else. Not for joy, not for clarity, not for the peace you are searching for. A well-known teacher, Eckhart Tolle, talks about something called the pain body. This is the collection of negative emotions and painful stories we repeat to ourselves. When you keep replaying arguments, imagining the worst, or criticizing yourself, this pain body grows stronger. Over time, it feels like a part of you, an inner shadow that feeds on suffering. But even though this shadow feels real, it is not truly who you are. If it were, then who is the one listening to these thoughts? Pause for a second and think about that. Who is hearing that inner voice? When you stop and really listen, you might notice something amazing. You might feel a quiet awareness inside you, something deeper than thought, calmer than words, and much more stable than your mind's chatter. That quiet awareness, that is the real you. Discovering inner stillness. Many spiritual traditions talk about this deeper self. In Hinduism, it's called the Atman, the true self beyond the mind's noise. In Christianity, it's like the still small voice of God, always present underneath the chaos. In Taoism, it's the Tao, the natural flow of life, effortless and peaceful. Your mind will resist this idea because it loves its own noise. The mind wants to analyze, plan, and control everything. But the mind is not balanced. It swings between past and future, hope and worry, never resting in the present moment. This imbalance is what causes suffering. When you are stuck in this way of thinking, even small things feel unbearable. If you get stuck in traffic, your mind turns it into a huge problem, wasting time, feeling disrespected, or complaining about unfairness. If you scroll through social media, your mind compares your life to others, making you feel jealous or not good enough. But it's not the traffic or social media causing these feelings. It's your thoughts about them. A well-known book, A Course in Miracles, puts it this way: nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Your thoughts about life are not life itself. They are like shadows on a wall. If you only focus on the shadows, you can't see the light. Here's a secret. The moment you stop talking to yourself, even just for a second, you begin to feel free. You step outside of your mind's endless chatter and into a wide, open space of awareness. This doesn't mean you should try to force your mind to be silent. Fighting your thoughts only makes them stronger. Instead, you can simply notice them without reacting. It's like watching the lake instead of throwing more stones into it. Rumi, a famous poet, said, "Silence is the language of God. All else is a poor translation." When you let go of the constant inner dialogue, you start to hear that silence. It's not empty. It's full. It's peaceful. At first, your mind will resist this. The voice will say, "You need me. You won't survive without me." Who will plan and solve problems? But the truth is, the deeper part of you knows how to live without the noise. Just like the sun doesn't need a clock to rise, you don't need constant thinking to function. So ask yourself, who am I beyond my thoughts? Who am I when my mind is quiet? These questions don't need an answer. They need to be experienced. You explore them in the silence that exists beyond the noise, seeing yourself clearly. Imagine looking into a clean mirror. It reflects exactly what is there. No distortion, no confusion. You see yourself as you truly are. But what happens if the mirror is cracked? The reflection becomes broken, unclear. You can't see the truth. This is what the voice in your head does. It acts like a cracked mirror, giving you a distorted picture of yourself. It whispers, "You're not good enough. You have to prove yourself. You must fix everything, or it will all fall apart." And because this voice is so loud and constant, you believe it. But who were you before you started believing this voice? Think back to when you were a child. Can you remember a moment when you were just playing, running outside, drawing, or laughing without worrying about anything? In those moments, you weren't narrating your life. You were simply being. That is the state your true self longs to return to. Peace, simplicity, and presence. Finding peace and stillness in Buddhism, this presence is called sati, or mindfulness. It's about being fully in the present moment, without judgment or endless thoughts. When the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and found enlightenment, he didn't do it by arguing with his mind. He simply watched his thoughts come and go, without holding on to them, just like clouds passing in the sky. In today's world, silence seems impossible. Our phones beep, emails flood in, and there's always something demanding our attention. Even when we sit quietly, our mind fills the silence with more noise, so we might feel like stillness isn't real. But actually, the noisier your mind gets, the more it craves peace. Lao Tzu, an ancient philosopher, asked, "Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear?" The more you chase peace, the more it slips away. True stillness comes when you stop chasing, stop controlling, and simply be. Stillness isn't something you create. It's something you remember. It's already inside you, waiting beneath the noise. So start small. Notice your thoughts without reacting to them. Imagine watching a movie in a theater. You see the scenes play out, but you don't jump into the screen. You are the watcher, not the actor. The same is true for your thoughts. They play out in your mind, but they are not you. Even one moment of silence, a deep breath, a pause, can start to free you from the endless inner chatter. And in that moment, you step into the vast, quiet stillness of who you truly are. Imagine holding a glass of dirty water. If you keep shaking it, the dirt will stay mixed in, making the water look cloudy. But if you place the glass down and leave it alone, the dirt will settle and the water will become clear. Your mind works the same way. The more you fight your thoughts, the more restless they become. But if you stop struggling and let them be, clarity will come naturally. This clarity is where change begins. In Hindu teachings, there is a story about the lotus flower. The lotus grows in muddy water, but its petals remain clean and untouched. Your true self is like that lotus, pure and unaffected by the noise in your head, no matter how chaotic it seems. When you stop believing every thought, you start seeing the world clearly. A tree is no longer labeled beautiful or ugly. It just is. A moment is no longer judged as good or bad. It simply exists. This change doesn't mean you stop thinking. Thoughts will still come, just like clouds moving across the sky. But instead of grabbing onto them, you let them pass. You stop mistaking them for reality. At first, this may feel strange. The voice in your head has been with you for so long that silence might feel uncomfortable. But as you experience more stillness, you'll realize that silence isn't empty. It's full of peace, awareness, and life. In this stillness, you'll finally see yourself as you truly are, not as the broken reflection your thoughts have created. This is the first step to freedom. In stillness, you'll understand that the change you're looking for isn't something new. It has been there inside you all along, just waiting to be noticed. The voice and the empty space. There comes a moment when you realize the voice in your head has been taking up space in your life for too long. It's like discovering an uninvited guest living in your house, making a mess and demanding attention. Suddenly you stop and think, why am I letting this happen? This is the moment when you begin to notice the space beyond the voice. Some people call this space the void, the place where the mind's chatter starts to lose its power. At first, the idea of this emptiness can feel scary. If you're not the voice in your head, then who are you? What's left when the noise stops? But what if this emptiness isn't empty at all? What if it's full of everything you've been searching for? In Taoist teachings, the void is not nothingness. It's a space full of potential. The Tao Te Ching says, "We shape clay into a pot, but it is the empty space inside that holds what we need." The empty space in your mind is like that pot, not about what's missing, but about the room it creates for something new. Imagine walking through a dense forest where the trees are packed tightly together. Hardly any sunlight reaches the ground. In the same way, your thoughts can be so crowded that they block the light of awareness. But when you quiet your mind, space opens up. The trees spread apart, the sunlight streams in, and suddenly you can see clearly. This doesn't mean the voice in your head will disappear overnight. It's been with you for so long that it may feel like a familiar, if not always friendly, companion. The key is not to fight the voice, but to stop giving it power. Every time you argue with it, analyze it, or try to control it, you feed it energy. Instead, try this. Listen to the voice as if it were a radio playing in another room. It's there, but you don't have to focus on it. You can hear its opinions, its fears, its endless complaints, and then let them fade away like background noise. There's a story in the Bible about Elijah searching for God. He looks for him in strong winds, in an earthquake, and in a fire. But God isn't in any of them. Instead, he appears in a still, small voice. But what if that voice isn't a sound at all? What if it's the deep silence beneath all the noise? This silence isn't lifeless, it's alive. It's full of wisdom, creativity, and peace, all hidden beneath the mind's constant chatter. When you touch this silence, your experience of life changes. You stop reacting to every thought as if it's true. For example, imagine walking through a busy marketplace. The voice in your head might say, "It's too loud here. I wish it were quieter. That person is staring at me. Do I look strange?" Before you know it, you feel tense and uncomfortable. Now imagine the same market, but instead of believing the voice, you simply observe it. You notice its complaints but don't engage with them. You see the people, hear the laughter, and smell the spices in the air. The voice becomes background noise, and the present moment becomes alive. Even in the middle of chaos, you feel peaceful. This is why many spiritual traditions encourage practices like meditation or prayer. These aren't just ways to calm the mind, they're ways to step beyond it, to recognize that the voice is not in control. There's a Zen story about a student who asks his teacher, "What is enlightenment?" The teacher responds, "When hungry, eat, when tired, sleep." The student is confused. "But doesn't everyone do that?" he asks. The teacher smiles and replies, "No, most people when hungry think of many other things. When tired, they worry instead of resting. Enlightenment is simply being." This simple presence is where true change happens. When you stop identifying with the voice, something incredible happens. Fear starts to fade. Fear needs a constant story to survive. It needs the voice to say, "What if this goes wrong? What if I'm not good enough? What if I fail?" But in the quiet space beyond the voice, there's no room for those stories. There is only the present moment, and the present moment is always safe. Think of a bird sitting on a tree branch. The bird doesn't worry about whether the branch will break. It simply trusts that if it does, it can fly. In the same way, the quiet space in you teaches you to trust, not in guarantees, but in your own ability to handle whatever comes next. This trust is what many spiritual teachers call surrender. But surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means letting go of the struggle and allowing life to unfold naturally. As you do this, you'll notice something amazing. The world feels lighter. Problems that once consumed you lose their grip. You find yourself laughing at how dramatic the voice can be. And in its place, you feel something new, a quiet joy, a deep peace that was always there, waiting beneath the noise. The change you're looking for isn't a single moment. It's a journey into the quiet space beyond the voice, where you rediscover the fullness of life. And as you go deeper, you'll see the truth. The quiet space isn't empty at all. It's the mirror of stillness, reflecting back who you truly are. The voice in your head tries to convince you that your value depends on your achievements, your relationships, and how well you meet the world's expectations. But when you start listening to your heart, you see that this isn't true. Think of the story of the prodigal son in the Bible. A young man takes his inheritance, leaves home, and wastes everything. Feeling lost and ashamed, he returns, expecting rejection. But instead, his father welcomes him with love and joy. This story is more than just about forgiveness. It's a reminder that no matter how far you stray, your worth never changes. Your heart is always waiting, ready to welcome you back. You don't have to battle the voice in your head to return to your heart. Fighting it only makes it stronger. Instead, you can shift your focus. Picture yourself sitting by a campfire watching the flames dance. The fire represents your thoughts, bright and captivating but small. Beyond the fire, the night sky stretches endlessly, full of stars. This is your heart, vast and limitless. If you only look at the fire, the stars seem invisible. But when you lift your gaze, you realize the fire was never the whole picture. In the same way, when you shift your focus from the mind to the heart, you find clarity and peace. One way to connect with the heart is through gratitude. This isn't about forcing yourself to feel thankful, but about truly noticing what's already here. The air filling your lungs, the warmth of the sun, the laughter of a loved one. Gratitude isn't a thought, it's an experience. The poet Rumi once said, "Wear gratitude like a cloak, and it will feed every corner of your life." When you immerse yourself in gratitude, the voice in your head quiets and you become fully present. Compassion is another path to the heart, and it begins with how you treat yourself. When your inner voice criticizes, doubts, or belittles you, respond with kindness. Imagine speaking to a scared child. Would you scold them, or would you comfort them? When you offer yourself the same understanding, the negative voice loses its power. You start seeing yourself the way the heart does, whole, worthy, and deeply human. This kindness naturally extends to others. Without the mind's constant judgments, you begin to see people as they truly are. You recognize their struggles and joys not with criticism, but with compassion. In Buddhism, this practice is called metta, or loving kindness, wishing well not just for yourself and those you love, but even for those who challenge you. The voice in your head may resist, whispering, "They don't deserve your kindness." But the heart knows love isn't something to be earned, it's something you are. As you stay with the heart, life begins to feel lighter. The weight of fear, doubt, and control starts to fade. You laugh more. You breathe easier. You find joy in the simplest moments. This doesn't mean challenges disappear. The voice in your head will still try to pull you back into old habits of fear and worry. But now you have a choice. You can get lost in its stories, or you can return to the heart. Coming back to the heart isn't a one-time event. It's a practice. Some days the heart will feel distant and the voice will be loud. Other days the heart will shine so brightly that the voice barely matters. What matters is choosing, again and again, to return. And in doing so, you'll realize something profound. The stillness you've been searching for isn't separate from the heart. The heart is the stillness. It's the space where the mind's chatter fades and the fullness of life comes rushing in. Living the shift. The shift begins the moment you stop getting caught up in your thoughts. In that instant, you step into a new way of being. You've glimpsed the stillness beneath the noise and felt the vastness of your heart. But how do you live this shift every day? Living the shift doesn't mean being perfect. It doesn't mean your mind will never wander or that fear and doubt will vanish completely. The voice in your head will return, telling the same old stories of insecurity and separation. But now you see it differently. It's just a passing shadow, not who you really are. The Bhagavad Gita offers wisdom on this. Perform your duty with equanimity. Abandon attachment to success and failure. This isn't about withdrawing from life, but about engaging with it fully, without fear of failure or the need for constant approval. One of the best ways to live the shift is through mindfulness. Mindfulness isn't just something you practice, it's a way of moving through the world. It means being fully present, not lost in regrets about the past or worries about the future. Imagine drinking a cup of tea. If your mind is busy, you barely notice the experience, lost in thoughts of what's next. But when you're mindful, you feel the warmth of the cup, taste the richness of the tea, and notice the steam rising. A simple act becomes something profound. This is the power of mindfulness. It turns everyday moments into something sacred. Another way to embody the shift is through service. When you're no longer consumed by your own mental chatter, you begin to truly see others. Their struggles, joys, and humanity become clear. Acts of kindness come naturally, not because you're trying to be good, but because you realize we're all connected. St. Francis of Assisi said, "It is in giving that we receive." When you serve others, you feel the truth of this firsthand. The barriers the mind created, the stories of separation, competition, and scarcity, begin to dissolve. Living the shift also means embracing life's mystery. The mind craves certainty, control, and clear answers, but the heart thrives in the unknown. Mystics throughout history have spoken of surrendering to the flow of life. Rumi wrote, "Try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. And do not worry that your life is turning upside down. How do you know that the side you are used to is better than the one to come?" When you live the shift, you stop clinging to old stories and allow life to unfold naturally. One day you'll look back and see that the shift didn't happen in one sudden moment. It happened gradually, through small choices day after day. Each time you stepped out of your thoughts and into the present, you moved closer to freedom. And in the end, that's what the shift is about. Not escaping life's difficulties, but finding freedom within them. The shift isn't something you achieve, it's something you become. You are the shift. You are the stillness. You are the light that shines beyond the noise.